Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Kalika and you're gonna be a craftier person after watching this video. Won't accept 2 weeks notice? Okay, bye! Long time lurker, first time poster, mobile yada yada. Complimentary Canadian apology, sorry for the long post. Let's get to the MC. Let me know if this post belongs here or not. I used to work in the deli department in a popular chain of grocery stores. We had the most incompetent manager, Clueless Potato, who is also our union rep, so you can't complain or get rid of her. I have no idea if this is even allowed, but this clueless fart has somehow accomplished this and little else. For example, we would have a Tuesday special that left us slammed to the point where people were upset with the wait times and how quickly it sold out. She would be scheduled for the time the special was happening and take her lunch immediately once people started pouring in, saying, "I can't handle this today," leaving me to serve 3 counters, fish, cold cuts and hot food, with a crowd demanding our lunch special. So I learned to get creative with my annoyance in many ways, but I'll just post the icing on the proverbial cake. 3 of us were tired of our antics and planned all quit within the same week, 2 days apart after Sam, our awesome assistant manager, announced he was getting transferred to a different store, closer to home, at his request. The first person hands in her 2-week notice, no problem. Second person, let's call him Tim, goes 2 days later and comes by to see me at the counter. I was scheduled to work with Clueless Potato for another Tuesday special. "Hey, did you give your notice yet?" She refused it. What? She can't do that? She said, "I don't have time for this," and shut the door on me. I stew for a few moments before a sudden eureka hits me. Well then I guess I'll just quit right now. That would be funny. I don't think she's even worked a Tuesday special. She said she doesn't have time for any notice, so I'm leaving. I packed up my things and headed to the door to leave with Tim. He wasn't scheduled to work that day, when Clueless Potato runs up, fastest I've ever seen her move, and stops us. "Where are you going? There's a lineup waiting for their food." I quit. "You have to give me notice." That's weird, because Tim just said you didn't have time for that. Clueless Potato looks at Tim, who nods casually, causing her face to turn a bold combination of purple and red. "You still need to give me notice." That's bull, but here's your notice. I quit and I'm leaving now. Goodbye, Clueless Potato. I heard from Sam that she called everyone at the last minute to try and get someone to do the whole Tuesday special, and she ended up dealing with that madness herself for a change. TLDR, manager refused to accept 2-week notice, so I didn't give her any and walked out on my shift with her. For anyone thinking, this poor lady probably is overstressed with taking care of a huge multi-counter department, we of course tried the empathetic approach where we all went out of our way to help her deal with her biggest stresses, ordering and paperwork. The assistant manager Sam stayed an average of 20 extra hours each week to try and take care of all the orders and paperwork so she could stay in the department and do the less stressful work that we needed help with. She instead took that opportunity to use Sam as a scapegoat for all of her problems. She started to blame him for slacking on paperwork and never doing orders. She started to complain to the assistant store manager, and Sam was starting to get written up for not doing Clueless Potato's job. I was working an entire 8-hour shift with her, where she complained she had to stay in the office to do all the paperwork that Sam had already finished, and I was blasted all day with Candy Crush notifications asking for lives from her Facebook account, so I don't really believe she actually does any work in her office anymore. I've actually had a manager like this in the past, and it is the most stressful, aggravating and demotivating thing ever. I hope this manager goes down in flames. And how stupid do you have to be to send out Facebook notifications to your colleagues who are covering your butt? You want a big discount on this medication that can't be found anywhere, or else you're going somewhere else? Okay, good luck finding it. For context, I work in a pharmacy in Canada, and the way pharmacies make money is to charge a slight markup, which varies, on a medication and also add a professional dispensing fee, which can vary from store to store, but most are $9 to $10 per medication. Of course, people ask for discounts all the time because of this variation. I try to work with people as best as I can, especially someone who takes multiple medications very frequently. I do my best to charge them a reasonable amount because I know these fees can be hefty and medication is important. Often, people ask to match Costco's pharmacy price, which is 1 to 2% markup and a $3.99 fee. Anyone in the industry knows that this is basically ridiculous and Costco is not making any money from their pharmacy. Their pricing is to get people in store to pick up other items on the way. In addition, finding parking, navigating the aisles and hordes of people, and having to wait a very long time before you get your prescription usually deters a lot of people from going. So a new lady, M, whom I've never met, comes into my pharmacy with a prescription for a medication, let's call Drug X. It's an older medication that's been phased out over several months because there were other similar medications introduced that cost significantly less, so demand dropped and the company stopped producing it. However, there are a few people who swear by it and still want drug X because it worked better than its alternatives for them. When these patients on drug X heard the drug manufacturer was stopping production, many people got prescriptions for months and years and bought out basically every bottle, so all major stores had zero stock left over. I just so happened to have a few bottles in stock that were good for another 5 years, likely the final batch made. So I tell them that she's in luck and that I happen to have it in stock. She asks me how much, and I give her our standard price, which has a 10% markup on the cost and a $12.99 fee. It's a mum and pop store, so usually the dispensing fee is on the higher end. She scoffs at me and tells me I better match Costco or she'd never come back. I said, look, I'm sorry. If you were taking other medications frequently, I could work with you and help reduce the fees, but I can maybe bring it down a few bucks at the most, since it's just a one-time pickup. She literally starts screaming that she'll give us the worst reviews, etc, etc, how I'm being completely disrespectful and she'll never do business with me again. I knew this medication was likely not available anywhere, so I stuck to my guns. I told her again, I'm sorry, but I couldn't match Costco, we'd basically be making no money if I did. She asks for her prescription back, literally snatches it from my hand, calls me rude and that I had the worst customer service ever, and I just lost a ton of business and storms out. Over the next few hours, I received 4 calls from 4 separate Costco pharmacies asking me if I could provide a source of where I bought drug X from, because their wholesalers don't have it and they have a patient who claims I had it in stock. Poor employees were just trying to help this lady, and I of course told them it was honestly just extra stock and I had the same wholesalers as them. They all thanked me and went back to dealing with this lady. She was clearly shopping around for it. As luck would have it, a very frequent patient of mine came in and had a prescription for drug X for her son that he's been looking everywhere for. He has tried every pharmacy in the area and had his mum bring it to me. I filled it for her and she happily paid the full price and was so thankful and even bought me some baked treats the following week. 2 days later, as I'm at work, I see M come into the store, not making eye contact. She gave me the same prescription, now crumpled up and stained after likely being handled by several other pharmacies. She says, alright, whatever. I'll pay your extra ridiculous fee. Thought I'd give you some business after reconsidering. At this point, there were 3 others waiting, so I told her to have a seat and wait, because technically, the prescription still has to follow the workflow, which involves an electronic stock check, even though I know we don't have it. I'd usually give people a heads up if I knew in advance to avoid waiting, but she can wait. 25 minutes go by and it's her turn. I call her name to the counter, and with a pretty big smirk I said, unfortunately ma'am, we've completely run out of drug X and have no way of obtaining it at this time. You'll have to try another pharmacy. She interrupted and said, but you just had it 2 days ago, I was just here. I informed her that another patient had depleted our final stock after she insisted on going elsewhere. She hung her head down, meekly took her prescription back and went out the door without a peep, dragging her feet the whole way. She had wasted at least 4 to 5 hours going to pharmacies for what basically amounted to $14 of difference, and in the end, she didn't get her way. Oh, it felt so good. Show them all your documents, they will see you deserve no better. Okay, I will show all my documents. Hi, this is my first post in here about a thing which happened half a decade ago, but recent experience made me remember it vividly. I hope you enjoy my story. To give context, I live in Europe, in a non-Anglophone country. I have always been a language nerd, and since my parents' divorce, English and everything in it, music, movies, internet, was my escape. So I was fluent before most of my classmates and got my CPE, Certificate of Proficiency in English, the highest certificate from the Cambridge Council, at 18. In my country, high schools are basically undergrad college and are finished between the ages of 19 to 20, and a problem which almost all public schools have is terrible language teachers, most of them being former Russian teachers with minimal English or any other language education. Also, as my country is small and nobody could reasonably expect to use our language abroad, we put a huge emphasis on language studies at all levels of education, and it is often the thing which schools boast about to become more prestigious. So enough context. From early on, my last high school English teacher and I kicked off to a bad start. The first test she gave us came back all red because of words which are not found in the textbook. The terrible teacher, TT for short, would do this to me for the full final 2 years. She would take my essays and tests and cross out any word, phrase or structure which was not in the textbook we were using. I maintained that I will not go as far as to learn the textbook vocabulary by heart just to remember which synonyms I was allowed to use, just because of TT's antics. I have managed to keep an A for 3 terms because there was nothing she could mark down on my grammar. The final term, however, TT learned that I wished to go to university to do Anglophone studies, a specialisation her daughter had failed to be accepted for. She told me that as an explanation of why I cannot ever hope to be accepted, at the start of that term, and which, among dozens of other things, required good or even perfect marks from high school language lessons and accepted only 5% of applicants. TT was dead set to make me fail. She started giving me the stupidest assignments and extra tests for misbehaving in class, being finished early and silently staring at a wall, which required me to mark the exact position of Disneyland on this A4 blind map of USA. Exact quote I still remember after all those years. And more of the same crap. You could tell she was so satisfied by me failing these tests. She would have a grin on her face each time handing out the results. By this time, I have been representing the school in Language Olympics for both English and Spanish. She had no idea, because it was organised by another language teacher. And even though the principal made it into a big deal, TT was plainly uninterested. I have placed 3rd in the capital city district in Spanish and 6th nationwide in English. Not listing this to brag, okay, maybe a little bit, but to use it later. By the end of the term, she got my mark down to a C-. Mind you, all the grammars were still A's, but her blind maps of tourist attractions had taken their toll. I went to her to reason with her, but her reaction was, "If you think a different teacher would propose a different mark, take all of your documents and go to one of my colleagues, but I believe it's clear to anyone that you do not deserve any better." So I did. I took all of my documents, the bloody blind maps, the grammar tests, my by then year-old PCE certificate and my 6th place diploma. I went to the teacher who organised the competitions and explained my situation. She was furious. She took this to the principal, and even though I was waiting outside, I could hear him yell at TT, "You're trying to fool the student who was representing us at the national level of competitions?" It also turned out that with the CPE I had, by that time, a higher level of English education than TT had. I got my A. I got to the uni and I love it there. I also started my own tiny language school where, among of course teaching the language to whoever is interested, I help kids whose language teachers are incompetent and or power-hungry morons. The impulse for me to write this was walking by the high school last week and meeting TT. She acted like we have always been best buddies. A couple of my students are her students as well, so she knows about me. She hugged me in front of the high school kids present and exclaimed that I got where I was all thanks to working hard in her lessons. I am still pissed I did not get the courage to tell her off then and there. Okay, so that's all for r/MaliciousCompliance. I really hope you did enjoy it. As always, if you do want to see more content like this, then please do subscribe. My Twitter, Discord and Patreon links are in the description, and any support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for watching.